All right, today we're talking about R. And no, not the letter. We're diving into the powerful language that's all about finding the hidden stories in our data.
The world today literally runs on data. Think about it. Every time you click something, buy something, heck, just living your life, you're generating this insane amount of information. It's just everywhere, and it's shaping our world whether we see it or not. So the big question is, how on earth do we make sense of it all? I mean, how do you take this flood of raw numbers, and turn it into something that's actually useful, something you can act on? That's really the challenge, isn't it?
Well, that's where R comes in. See, R isn't just another programming language you might have heard of. It was built for one very specific thing: to find the story hidden inside all those numbers. You can almost think of it as a storyteller, but for data. And this isn't some new thing either. R has some seriously deep roots. It all started way back in the 70s at Bell Labs with a language called S. Fast forward to 1993, and these two guys, Ross Ihaka and Robert Gentleman, they create R, an open source take on it. And today, it's basically the global standard if you're serious about data.
Okay, so what is it that makes R so special? Well, its whole design really comes down to three core ideas, three pillars that give it all its power.
Yeah, you can think of these as its superpowers. First, it's just got raw statistical power. Second, it's unmatched when it comes to visualization. And third, and this one is huge, it has this massive global community behind it. So let's dig into each of those. All right, pillar number one, its statistical engine. This is key. See, R wasn't a general language that had stats tacked on later. No, it was built for this stuff from day one. That means it comes packed with tools for pretty much every statistical technique you can think of, right out of the box. You're not spending time building things from scratch, you're just analyzing. And that's exactly why it's the go-to language in academia and research. And that brings us to the second pillar, communication. I mean, think about it. What good is a brilliant insight if you can't explain it to anyone? R is built on this idea that visuals aren't just for making things look pretty. They're the absolute best way to communicate complex ideas clearly and, persuasively. Okay, pillar number 3, community. And this number, wow, this number says it all, 20,000. So what is that? That's how many free user-made packages are available on what's called CRAN, the Comprehensive R Archive Network. Basically, no matter what you're trying to do with your data, there's a really, really good chance that someone out there in the R community has already built a tool to help you do it. Okay, so let's see how this all actually works. We're going to look at the modern toolkit that makes using R feel so intuitive. So at the center of the modern R world is something called the tidyverse. The best way to think about it is it's like a collection of tools, all made by the same company. They all work together perfectly. They all feel the same to use. It's this whole ecosystem of packages that just makes cleaning, wrestling, and visualizing your data feel logical. It's consistent and way easier to read. And this right here, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got a normal question, right? Find all players who scored more than 85 points. And on the right, that's the R code to get the answer. Look how similar they are. You take your data, and then you filter it for a score greater than 85. It almost reads like a sentence. That's the tidyverse magic. Okay, so manipulating data is one thing, but the real magic of R, it's how it brings that data to life. Let's actually see what that looks like. Okay, so here's some raw data. It's a classic data set about cars. You've got miles per gallon, horsepower, number of cylinders, all that good stuff. But look at that. It's just a table of numbers, right? I mean, sure, you could stare at it and maybe pick out one or two things, but the real story, the interesting patterns, they're totally hidden in there, right? So all the information is technically there, but the story, the insight, it's just locked away. And then, bam, this is what R does. With just a few lines of code, the story just jumps right out at you. Instantly, you see 3 separate groups of cars. You've got your 8-cylinder gas guzzlers up there in the top left, high horsepower, terrible mileage. Down in the bottom right, you've got the efficient 4-cylinders. And the 6 cylinders are, well, they're right there in the middle. That pattern was completely invisible a second ago, and now you literally can't miss it. So you can see how powerful this is, and it has huge implications. Let's talk about why R isn't just a niche tool for academics, but why it's so important in, well, pretty much every industry you can think of.
I mean, look at all these fields, and here's a huge example, public health. Remember that famous COVID-19 dashboard from Johns Hopkins that everyone was looking at? The one that was basically our main source of info for a while? That was built using R. From finance to data science to literally decoding our DNA, R is the engine driving some of the most important decisions and discoveries happening right now.
So when you boil it all down, here's what you need to remember. R isn't just a programming language. It's way more than that. It's a whole ecosystem, a whole environment for thinking with data. It brings together that hardcore statistical power, amazing graphics, and that incredible community we talked about.
You know, we're surrounded by numbers, just drowning in data. R gives us a way to actually listen to what that data is trying to tell us. The stories are in there, just waiting. So the real question is, what are you going to discover?